I don't think there was a single moment where everything changed. There was no collapse, no crisis, no dramatic handbrake turn, into a different direction. Things just started to feel a lot heavier. My name is David. I'm an entrepreneur in the 3D printing space and the building in public. From the outside, the business was moving forward. Orders were coming in, machines were running, we were growing, team was busy, it looked like growth. Inside, it felt like we were approaching edges. We were finding invisible walls around us. Some things we could prepare for, large orders, more machines, more design work. These problems had solutions, even if they meant longer days or more pressure. Other things were harder to plan for. Emails started falling behind, not because they weren't important, but because there were only so many hours in the day. Design work stretched into the night. Strategy started competing with delivery. At the same time, bigger questions were forming in the background. Funding. We never got solid funding. Growth. Where are we growing to? Market potential. What really can this market offer? This small local market that we have? And at what point are we going to saturate it? None of these needed answers immediately, but all of them demanded attention. And unanswered questions had a cost. Work didn't come home with me. Work became omnipresent. Work was life. It meant sitting down for a family dinner while mentally problem-solving a project. Designing parts in my head while my kids were showing me their homework. Thinking about next steps, cash flow, capacity, all while trying to stay present. Physically, you're there, but not really. That constant mental context switching is exhausting in a way that's very hard to explain unless you've been in it. Part of the reason for that pressure was simple. Me. Everything still passed through me. We hadn't built the systems yet that allowed real delegation. There was no clean handoff, no buffer, no redundancy. Quotes all came through me. Sales passed through me. Design came through me. Printing, assembly, delivery, all of it at some point had to pass through me. If a deadline slipped, I stepped in. Not because anyone asked me to, but because that's how things still worked. And there was one particular moment where we were closing off a pretty large project. It had to go out. The event was the next day. It dragged very late into the night, 3, 4 a.m. I stayed there assembling it myself. At around 5 in the morning, I put together the final piece. I slept on the sofa at the factory for about an hour, loaded them all up into my wife's car, delivered it into the middle of Valletta. Client was late. It happens. And then with about 30 minutes to spare, at 8:30 in the morning, I was sitting in a chapel for my son's Holy Communion. Physical present, completely numb, disassociated, running on empty. I remember sitting there and realizing that something wasn't right. Not because I was tired and dirty and just blind, not because it almost felt normal. I was getting used to it. The pivots never stopped. Money making, strategizing, sales, marketing, emails, back to delivery, money making, and again, over and over again. At the time, I thought that that's what growth felt like. I was in the grind, This was the price you paid for building something real. Looking back, I was so wrong. The pressure wasn't coming from the work itself. It was coming from the way the business was structured, or more accurately, the way it wasn't structured. I was the system. And systems don't scale when they live inside one person's head. At that point, I didn't know how to change that. I only knew that carrying everything myself wasn't sustainable, even if it was temporarily effective. And that was the phase where the business stopped feeling like something I was building, but something I was holding together. The great builder, the great fixer, the guy who holds everything together. I embraced that role in full force. And now I want to talk about what happens when you reach that point. When you being useful is the reason that the business starts becoming limited. And how I was forced to let go of parts of my identity for the company itself to grow, which eventually led to myself growing even more.